are you content with where you are? That is the question. And I'm not asking, are you content just so that you feel like, okay, I've reached this level and know I should do better. No, it's more about being content and knowing that, okay, I'm working towards something, or I am okay. I know I am making an effort. Because for a lot of people that are stuck, and even with clients that I've worked with, you're, there's a level of stuckness where I'm not content because I know there's more that I can do, but I'm just not able to do anything.
Hi, thank you for joining the Radiant Woman podcast. I am your host, Sekina Alao, and with me today is the lovely sister Aisha Mai. Aisha Mai is a neurolinguistic programming practitioner and a coach for Muslim women who want to heal from childhood or past trauma to overcome self sabotage, beat procrastination, and take action towards building sustainable relationships and businesses. Today, we are talking about naming and calling out one of our biggest saboteurs as humans: the limiting beliefs in our mind. Limiting beliefs are strong obstacles that can hinder us from living a fulfilling and authentic life. And you already know that this community is about encouraging women to live purposefully, authentically, and joyously. Of course, I'm excited to have her here today, and I cannot wait to learn from her depth of knowledge. So without much ado, let's welcome Sister Aisha Mai, and let's get into it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Aisha, thank you for joining. I think it was just about a week ago that I reached out to you that I was thinking about how to add value to the audience in the coming, within the next couple of weeks. And, you just said, oh, that's so, that's fine. No reluctance, nothing. And, I was just so I'm grateful and happy that I called and you honored my call without any reluctance at all. And that just, for me, it shows how passionate you are about, impacting the lives of Muslim women like you and I. And so thank you so much.
Wa alaikum assalam. And thank you. I'm super excited, honestly. And I was so excited to get that message. I was like, yes, please, limiting beliefs. Love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for reaching out. I'm honored that you thought about me, and I'm here, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah, mashallah. To think that we only met, I think the first LND event, I think you were one of the
Yes,
first people that actually, signed up, and you gave me so much encouragement then. So
alhamdulillah.
I guess it's
Alhamdulillah.
it's, it's just Allah's plan, really. So
Yes, alhamdulillah.
coming back to today's topic about limiting beliefs. So I was thinking, I was just trying to make my plan for the podcast because I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted this to be something, because I see myself doing this in the long haul. So I just wanted to put a plan around it. So I was just thinking, okay, 2022 is coming up, and a lot of people are in that zone of, oh, we're planning for 2022, we're setting goals, vision boarding. I mean, even I am having like a year planning event,
Yeah.
for some sisters in like a week's time. And I just
Okay.
thought, like, something that a lot of us do not put into consideration is the fact that when we are setting goals and all these lofty things, right, we don't
Mm-hmm.
put into consideration the fact that we should actually recognize and name potential obstacles that
Yes.
might hinder us from reaching our goals or whatever it is that we have set out to do. And
Mm-hmm.
when we now name these obstacles, we can now think about what factors, what mitigating factors can I use to, try to make sure that I'm able to overcome these obstacles. It doesn't mean that it's going to be fail proof, but it just means that at least
Yeah.
you recognize that, okay, this is where I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to. These are some of the potential obstacles, and this is how I can, maneuver it. And one thing I have realized is, even till now, when I'm like setting goals, sometimes I do skip over that process of actually naming the obstacles that might come in,
Mm-hmm.
that I might come in contact with. And a major one is the mindset.
Yeah.
Right, so we might have obstacles in our physical environments, in
Mm-hmm.
maybe our friendships, social environments, whatever it is. But a mindset that is like a part of us is like a huge block. So, and when I thought about it, I was like, I think that this all boils down to limiting beliefs. And of course, it came to my mind
Yes.
first. So I'm like, just go for
Alhamdulillah.
it. Um, message Sister Aisha and let's see how we can do this before
Yeah.
22 comes around. So let's get right into it, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So, yeah, mashallah, bismillah. So, the very first question I have for you is, what's your story? How did you get to this point where you are now a coach that
Mhm.
helps women heal self-sabotage? How did you get? What's your story like? What was your journey to this point in time?
Mm. Okay. Well, it's going to be a long story, but I'm just going to give you the highlights.
Yeah.
So the highlights are that, while growing up, I was a peaceful child. I did well in school. I'm the eldest,
Okay.
like I have a lot of siblings. So there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of expectations of you to, perform well, especially academically. So
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, I did do well in school, and, for university, I didn't study in Nigeria. I
Mm-hmm.
studied in Khartoum, so I studied pharmacy, and during that 5 years that I was there, I had a
Yeah.
lot of depression. Well, I'm not diagnosed as like having clinical depression, but there was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of thoughts of loneliness and what am I doing here and what's the point? I was so lonely. I missed home and I felt like, I was just brought here and dumped and all these things, all things like
Yeah.
happened throughout
Mm-hmm.
that time. And then I got married during I was still in school when I got married. I came back to Nigeria, and then I had a lot of identity crisis with my course that I studied pharmacy. Because when I came and I
Mm-hmm.
did my
Makes
internship
two of
in a
us.
hospital, honestly, I worked in a hospital pharmacy. I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was adding any value to anybody's life. And I was like, I could be done away with. Like, I didn't have anything that I was doing. And
Mm-hmm.
that caused a lot of identity conflict for me because I was like, what did I go and study for 5 years to do and to come back to Nigeria? And what am I even
Mm-hmm.
doing? So it was a whole lot of turmoil around that time. And then
Mm-hmm.
after my internship, I gave birth to my second child. My first was going to school, and so I was left home with the baby.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, is this all there is to life? I
Yeah.
would have so many ideas and I never acted on them. I
Mm-hmm.
procrastinated so much and I felt like what's there in life? Like I'm happy that I'm a mom, and I'm a
Yeah.
Muslim and I know Allah and I'm always making dua and I'm praying tahajjud and all these things. But even in my belief of Allah, I was not tying my camel. I was not
Mm-hmm.
taking action because of something that was holding me back. I had a lot of fear. I had very, very low confidence. I just felt like everything was possible for other people, but not for myself.
But not you.
A
Mm.
lot of like, I'm a cheerleader for my friends, and I'm like, if you come at me with an idea, I'm like, yes, you can do it. But then
Mm-hmm.
I never believed in myself. And, it was to the point that I didn't trust myself that whenever I wanted to do something, I'd pass it through my friends, my family, my husband, whoever. And if they as much as showed a concern or they raised a question, then I'd totally shut down the idea and be like, oh, it's not going to work. It's going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
What were you even thinking to do this? And I tried a couple of things. I read a lot of
Mm-hmm.
books. I tried a couple of courses here and there, free videos on YouTube and all that. And I would
Yeah.
start, but I would always stop. So there's always this whole starting and stopping, a lot of fear. Oh, what if it
Mm-hmm.
fails? What if like people are going to laugh at me? I'm a beginner.
Yeah.
All sorts of things. Of course, there's a lot of people pleasing as well. And
Yeah.
then all through making dua to Allah, Allah blessed me to work with Lain Kasani in
Much.
2017. And in 2017, 2018, I took one of her courses. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember how I took it because when I saw it, I was like, Aisha, this is your opportunity. You have been making dua to Allah. So will you
Mm-hmm.
let this opportunity pass you by or would you take advantage of it? And then I'm like, yeah, okay, let me try this. And I said, Bismillah, I joined. It was a 3 month program. And from then on, I haven't looked back. Alhamdulillah, like it was so amazing. And
Alhamdulillah.
so what I needed that I was a different person by the end of those 3 months. I couldn't believe it. Like if I
Mashallah.
showed you my journal from that time, the things I wrote, my
Mm-hmm.
limiting beliefs of what I cannot do. I can never do this. I can't do this. I'm just born this way. I can't ever
Mm-hmm.
change. And then Allah in His mercy, like He brought me this opening. And from them on, I went ahead to train in
Mm-hmm.
neurolinguistic programming, which I took with Aliya Ummraiyan. You might know her if you watch
Yes, I
Honest
do.
Book.
Yes, I do.
They're my
Yes, I do.
of those women. So I took the course with her for 6 months and then another 6 months of assessments. So it was quite grueling, just
Mm-hmm.
getting to learn this neurolinguistic programming, which is a psychology model. that
Yeah.
Lainka like shared with us. She's like, oh, this is what she took. So until then, I have worked with Lainka again this year on my healing. So I am also on this journey, on this path of doing my own work. And Alhamdulillah, I am working with clients currently, Muslim women. I have worked
Mashallah.
with a couple of them from last year until now. And so, Alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful and I'm so honored to meet these amazing women and to work with them and to support them on their healing and to overcome these limiting beliefs and all the self-sabotaging behavior we have.
Alham-
So, in a nutshell,
Alhamdulillah.
really amazing.
Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing. I mean, we're going to touch on, your program later on, but
No
I just
worries.
wanted to say that, your story resonated with me so much. So I also studied pharmacy, and funny enough, my internship was good. I think maybe because I thrive of like social interaction. So I had my internship in Luth, and we had lots of people. So that whole interaction just clouded the whole actual work itself. But
Yes.
I started to feel that way, like after 5 years, I don't really feel like this is what I want to do. I
Yeah.
fell into that stage of, especially when I had my child,
Mm-hmm.
it was now like it's not just you anymore, and it's what you can't give what you don't have, right? So you need to
That's
figure
right.
out yourself to some
Yeah.
extent so that you're able to pass on those knowledge or that confidence to your children as well. So I became that. There was depression, there was loneliness, there was
Feeling
confusion,
stuck. Yes. Everyone's
exactly,
ahead.
feeling
No
stuck.
one knows what they're
Yes,
doing, and you're
exactly. And like you, I had loads and loads of ideas. In fact, it got to bless my husband. To be honest, he has been so supportive. I know there's
yes.
sometimes like I'm saying I have this idea, I have this, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just there listening to me and everything, and I wouldn't act on it. So it got to
Yes.
a point where I was
Mm-hmm.
even embarrassed to, actually share my ideas, because I'm just like, they would start looking at you like you just share all these ideas and you never implement any one of them. So it's better you just keep short. So I started feeling like there's something wrong with me,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'm just not good enough to execute these ideas.
Yes.
And I see people doing those
Yeah.
things that I feel like, oh, I want to do and all that. So like our
Mm-hmm.
stories are very similar, and I'm sure like the people listening to this, when it does go out, might be able to relate as well. I'm sure we are not just the only
Yeah.
two that feel this way. Yeah, so just wanted to point that out, that everybody is on one journey or the other. Some
Mm-hmm.
people are just getting into that space, and some of us, we've been in it for a while, and just trying to, we are now discovering ourselves, and trying to push past this limits. Now, talking about
Yeah.
limiting beliefs, where do they come from? How are they formed?
Okay. So basically, just to give a bit of background, beliefs are
Mm-hmm,
assumptions about
mm-hmm,
ourselves or the world or people or how things work. So they're not hardcore, but these are just assumptions that we have made. And beliefs are of two kinds. They can be
okay,
empowering beliefs, which propels you, pushes you forward so that you see
mm-hmm,
opportunity and you act, or they could be limiting beliefs where you're not able to do anything. And the powerful thing about beliefs are that they run your life and they're mostly subconscious. So they
hmm,
come from our childhood, how you were raised, what things you experienced. So I would say they come from experiences, perhaps you had a negative experience while growing up. It could be bullying, it could be parents getting divorced, like a lot of fighting. So beliefs could come from there, where as children, we internalized whatever was happening and we assumed, we took things very personally and we took responsibility and we saw our role in it. I'm the one who made I'm the one who made them yell at me, so perhaps I'm not good enough. Like it
mm-hmm,
begins from that stage. So past
yeah,
experiences, definitely. Of course, the
yeah,
family, what you were told while growing up. Some children are always told, oh, you're lazy, why you always
mm-hmm.
this, why you always that, can't you see your brother? So
You
all
talk
these
too much.
comparison that parents
You,
do, you talk too much, can't
mm-hmm,
you, like you're making so much noise, all these things that we generalize about children and we say it constantly to them, the
Yeah.
subconscious mind takes it up. And because
Mm-hmm.
as we go to school and we become adults, nobody teaches you about self-awareness or
Yeah.
examining the thoughts that you grew up with. You don't even know you're running limiting beliefs, by the way. You hardly know
Hmm.
them. You just feel like I'm just being stuck, I'm just being held back, and I cannot do anything. But you cannot know that they're
And
limiting
that's
beliefs.
because it's in your
Of course.
subconscious. Yeah, it's
Yes,
literally like on
exactly.
autoplay, but you can't even
Yes,
place your hand on it. Really, you can't
exactly.
really say that
Exactly.
this is what is happening until you
Yes.
start questioning,
Yes.
questioning
Yes.
things.
I'm so
Hmm.
glad. Yeah, that's it. So I did say the second source. So the first source is past experiences.
Process.
Then from family, childhood, how you grew up, and then there's environment as well.
Okay.
Society, where it could be seen as Muslim women cannot do this or that or this or that, or women
Mm-hmm.
in general cannot do certain things. And so
Yeah.
depending on the culture and society that you grew up in, you could
Mm-hmm.
have beliefs placed on you. And then fourthly, there it could come from knowledge, the books we read,
Okay.
and
Okay.
from the ideas we get. So these
Hmm.
can also constitute limiting beliefs depending on what age we read them, how impressionable we were, what kind of authority we gave to the teachers or to the books in
The
order to
books.
believe and
Hmm.
internalize it.
Yeah.
Yes, these are
Yeah.
some of
That's
the
so true. Because even um as a today, when I read books, I make comments like you need to be careful where you get your
yes,
knowledge from.
you do, you
Be,
do.
yes, because unconsciously you start believing these things. So you need to be
Mhm.
careful where
Yeah,
what you're reading, who you're reading from, what you're listening to, who is
yeah,
passing across that message, so that
yes,
there's some things. At least for me, my religion, I hold it very sacred. So I wouldn't
hmm,
want anything that disrupts. Yes, I want to ask questions. I do ask
yeah,
questions about my religion, but there's a thin line between asking questions to actually seek knowledge to understand for yourself, rather than taking in information that just kind of clouds everything. So I do say yes, you have to be very careful where you get your information from. So
that's right. You
talk
need to filter. Go on.
yeah. Yeah, so talking about limiting beliefs, so now we know that we get it from like our environment, our
Mm.
family, our past experiences. So definitely there's a link with between limiting beliefs and like trauma,
Yeah,
abuse and all this other stuff. So
that's right.
how serious is this issue of limiting beliefs? Like how serious is it if it
Mm.
goes like, I wouldn't say untamed, and what role does our mind play in either resisting or accepting these limiting beliefs?
Okay. So the issue of limiting beliefs, personally, in my opinion, is quite serious,
Mm-hmm.
especially depending on what you'd like to achieve. So generally, I would say that we can have 1,000 limiting beliefs. This is just a number I pulled out of thin air. But
Of
the
course.
point I want to make is to identify limiting beliefs or to identify how great a limiting belief is for you, you
Mm-hmm.
need to examine what it is you are trying to achieve in your life. So if you
Okay.
think about where you want to go in your life and it's something
Mm-hmm.
significant that you want to achieve and you're being held back, then it shows you how big that limiting belief is. Because what is going to cost you or is already costing you at the moment because you're
Mm-hmm.
not working on it, is it could be costing you living an authentic life.
Mm.
This is huge because
Yeah.
you're just going to be living a life that is not your own, pretending, showing
Out of
a charade in
alignment.
front of people, out of alignment, and which causes internal conflict within you, and
Yeah.
sadness, and frustration, and depression, and anxiety, and all these feelings that come from within. And what kind of life are you going to live if
Mm.
you're all within you? You're not being
Yeah.
authentic to yourself. Maybe you're lying to other people, but you cannot lie
Yeah.
to yourself.
To yourself.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it
Yeah.
is a huge issue that needs to be examined as the level that the limiting beliefs are at, depending on
Mm.
what you like to achieve. So it really depends. It's a
Mm.
broad topic.
So does that mean that
Well,
it's literally most times is maybe when someone is trying to, achieve something, or break
Mm-hmm.
a cycle of something, that limiting beliefs do come up.
Yes, it would appear when you want to embark on something or achieve something. However, this is not all the time. So for me,
Okay.
I didn't discover my limiting beliefs by wanting to live perhaps a more authentic life. That wasn't how it
Mm-hmm.
was for me. For me, it was more of the inner feelings that I was feeling that
Okay.
pointed to me having limiting beliefs. So for someone, it could just show up as a life of unfulfillment. I'm not even sure
Mm.
what I want to achieve yet, but
Yeah.
then I just feel so unfulfilled. I feel like I'm not doing anything of value
Yeah.
or of being fulfilled. So it's not even about career wise or financially or whatever. Like, so it
Or
depends on
whatever
the
goes.
feelings that you have, like that you have within you, that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Or are you content with where you are? That is the question.
Mm.
And I'm not asking, are you content just so that you feel like, okay, I've reached this level and know I should do better? No, it's more about being content and knowing that, okay, I'm working towards something, or I am okay. I know I am making an effort. Because for a lot of people that are stuck, and even with the clients that I've worked with,
Mm-hmm.
you're, there's a level of stuckness where I'm not content because I know there's more that I can do, but
Yeah.
I'm just not able to do anything. I'm
Mm.
just stuck in this place of I
Feeling
don't know what.
helpless.
Helpless, exactly.
Mm.
You know, and that is a sad state to be in. And even for the people that experience it, know this.
Yeah.
And so, anyone with this kind of feeling or feeling like, okay, I have a goal and something is obstructing me, all this is going to point to negative or limiting beliefs.
I believe. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
So, in
Interesting.
addition, I do want to say that sometimes, the limiting beliefs could be not limiting for a person, depending on what it is they're looking towards. So, I'll give you an instance. Perhaps
Okay.
for somebody, they could feel
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what, I could never learn a language. This is a
Okay.
limiting belief. So limiting beliefs comes in different forms. Generally, it is worded as I can't do this, I can't ever, I can never, I'm just like this, I'm always, he's always, men are always this. All these generalizations that we make are part of
Yeah.
limiting beliefs. So for somebody who is like, oh, I could never learn a language, this is a harmless comment that people make all the time. Or people
Yeah.
say, oh, I'm just lazy, you know? So we're
Yeah.
not aware of our language. So what I wanted to say about the whole language thing is if you say I could never learn a language, then it depends. Is it a big deal for you?
Or
You
not.
truly want to do and you want to do
Mm.
it, but you genuinely feel like you can't do it? Or is it something that is by the way for you? That is not
Yeah.
what I want, whatever, whether I learn a language or not is not a big deal. So there is a
Yeah.
limiting belief there, but it's not consequential because that is not something that is valuable to you.
Mm.
I
Okay.
don't know if
Got you.
that makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Got you.
Hmm.
Got you. So
You're welcome.
the second question I asked was, what role does our mind play in either resisting or
Hmm.
accepting limiting beliefs? So I know,
Okay.
the subconscious mind is a culprit here,
Yes,
but
it
what
is.
role does it? Can you just break it down so people can really understand?
So it plays a huge role because the subconscious mind runs our life. So
Mm.
from breathing to all the unconscious things, to blinking, to
Yeah.
touching something hot and removing your hand, and all that
Yeah.
is in the subconscious mind. So going on to the subconscious mind, I feel like it plays a very, very big role because, like I said, everything is stored in the subconscious mind. If
Yeah.
we had to think about every single thing that we're going to do, then it's going to be tedious for us. So, from
Yeah.
childhood until this age that we are in, the subconscious mind filters what it takes on based on what it has experienced, based on, by the way, like you don't choose what your subconscious mind sticks with. So, you
Oh
could
wow.
have two people that go
Hmm.
through an exact same
Experience.
same situation or experience, and one person is going to view it differently and another person is going to view it completely differently. And
Mm.
so it is all in their subconscious mind. And the good thing I want to say is we don't just sit and be like, okay, my unconscious mind has decided to take on this thing, like I have to live with it, and I'm just born this way, and this is just how things are going to be. It's not. So for a lot of people, the thing that happens with the subconscious mind is that all the negative experiences and all the things that they've been through, perhaps at home, due to like our parents not knowing any better, they did
Yeah.
not clarify or separate for us that it's not just this one way of looking at life and making
Mm-hmm.
assumptions, because there wasn't a lot of dialogue, I feel, between our parents, like in our generation, especially dialogue in
At least
terms
we'll
of,
speak for
okay,
ourselves. Well, let's
exactly,
speak for
exactly.
ourselves. I know that was the
Yes,
same thing for
that's
me.
right.
Mm.
So, by the way, what happens is when you experience something, your unconscious mind makes up stories to fill in the blanks. You do not have the
Mm.
complete picture, but it fills in the blanks for you, and it takes that to be the absolute truth 100%. And so,
Mm.
unless you had maybe an older sister or somebody that was talking to you, or your parents, to help
Yeah.
you challenge these things, you might just take them on board and continue to live your life according to what you have assumed to be the absolute truth.
And that isn't
So,
necessarily the truth. Mm.
yeah, exactly. There is a different perspective that you haven't considered.
Mm. Mm. Oh dear. This topic is
Mm.
for me is a bit kind of scary, but it's not. It's also not scary, but it's just a lot
It is
to
scary, but there is
actually.
hope. There is a way
Yeah.
out of it, which is like something really cool. And it's never late. It's not late. Like, we don't feel like, oh, up till now, like at this age, nah. Today you want to work on this thing, you can be in the last start working on it. And by the
Yeah.
way, it can be gone. Like, it can be significantly reduced such that it no longer runs your life, let me say.
Yeah. Or like obstructs you to
Exactly.
like a large extent. Hmm.
Yes, yes.
Hmm. Okay. So moving on from there, how then do we now start, identifying our limiting beliefs? How do we
Mm,
identify them? Yeah.
okay. So it's gonna start with being curious. So
Mm.
this is like my first advice. In order to
Mm.
become self-aware or to figure out if you have a limiting belief, it would be to get curious. Any thought that comes to your mind. So perhaps you think of ideas, just like me, you shared that you had a lot of ideas. And as soon
Mm-hmm.
as you have these ideas and you started to paint a picture of what they could be, thoughts come to your mind of, what if this happens? What if that
Yeah.
happens? What if it fails? Okay, but I don't have this resource. Okay, I need to go and get a qualification first. I need to train.
Mm.
I don't have the sewing machine yet. Like all these
Yeah.
things start coming up. And
Mm-hmm.
so typically for somebody who is still in the hold of limiting beliefs, they're going to shut down the idea completely until they
Yeah.
have everything perfectly laid out and figured out. And that is not going to happen ever. And it
Ever,
just means
ever.
moving on to the next idea and
Yeah.
fantasizing and daydreaming about it, and still
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing becomes put into action.
Yeah.
So it's really about getting curious, that if you're in that habit or cycle, to just pause a bit and be like, be going on here, and
Mm.
trying to dig deeper, and asking questions such as, okay, hold up, what am I thinking is going to happen? You can journal about this. It could be that maybe this will fail. I'm not qualified. I'm not good enough. I didn't study this thing in school. It's not my area of expertise. It could be anything, yeah? So
Yeah.
it starts from getting curious, to just pause a bit. And even with the feelings that you're getting of being unfulfilled, it's about getting curious to know, okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling like
Mm.
I'm unfulfilled. Like, my day just goes by and I'm on autopilot.
Yeah.
It's just from this one thing to the other, and I'm not really thinking, okay, so what is that about? Like, let's try and dig deeper without any judgment, without any guilt, because sometimes the reason why we don't go into these questions is because of the guilt and the hurt that
For
we want to
sure.
block.
For sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know,
So
yeah.
that causes us to, shy
Avoid,
away and
like
just
we deflect.
continue in our autopilot mode.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And to think, I still do it sometimes. There are sometimes I know that I should be asking myself some certain hard questions, but I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with this today. Let's just continue. But I
Yeah,
think
but
the good
you're
thing,
aware of it,
I'm aware of it.
and
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
you know that eventually you would get to do it. And
Exactly,
so you
exactly.
might not be ready at that moment, but you know that
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to make
Yeah.
time to come
Mm-hmm.
do it. So which
Yeah,
is
which
good,
is
because things cannot be absolutes. Yeah.
exactly, which is totally different from actually not knowing, and
Mm-hmm.
you keep deflecting, but you don't even know why. So many of us shy away from asking ourselves these deep questions, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy really, because I know I
Oh, it's
experience
not.
it. It's not easy at all, but
Yeah.
it's just to encourage that it takes a bit of courage to ask yourself
Mm-hmm.
these really deep questions that might reveal some answers that might not be you know
That's
things
not
that
what we
you would like
want.
to come.
Exactly. They're not
Exactly.
pleasant.
They're
They're
not
not
pleasant because
pleasant, and we don't
yeah.
want to admit these things about ourselves, even though we have a fear that they might be true. And so we feel like once we ask these questions and we bring them out, then it's as if they have become true or they're going to become true. So we really want to avoid that disappointment or hurt or that negative feeling. So that is the
Yeah.
whole avoidance thing.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Mhm.
and going back to the point of actually being curious and
Yeah.
pausing, like let's just pause, because there's so much, there's like a flurry of activities going on, especially maybe if
Hmm.
you're like a mom or you're working or
Yeah.
something. Like there's just so much to do. It seems like
Hmm.
24 hours is not enough. But
That's right.
subhanallah, when I started, applying silence, there's sometimes that I'm
Yes.
just in the car and maybe we were listening to
Hmm.
something, and I'll just be like, can you switch off the radio or something? I just want
Hmm.
that silence, that space to
Yeah.
just, and it's not necessarily because I'd already planned to think about something, but
Hmm.
I just needed that space to, and you never
Yeah.
know what comes in those moments. It's just like how they say when you're in the shower, you
Hmm.
get some ideas or some thoughts come to your head and you start actually thinking. So you actually need to pause, think
Yeah.
and reflect on stuff that has happened, or things that are bothering you. You need to actually
Mhm.
take time out to pause. It doesn't have to be like, oh, proper meditation, how make people make it feel seem. But
Yeah.
even if it's just 5-10 minutes
Hmm.
every day or every other day, it does help a lot.
Yes,
It helps a whole lot.
it
Right.
does. It does. And I'm glad you shared that because it is that silence and it is that honoring yourself that, okay, I'm going to take this time for me and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to not do anything or just observe that silence. So it does come back to, being curious and also being deliberate in choosing
No,
to do that.
no, no. Right. So we've spoken about, the first step to actually identifying our limiting beliefs. So I think my next question will be, should we be working with our limiting beliefs, or should we be working to like totally eliminating it from our lives? Is it even possible to totally eliminate limiting beliefs from our lives?
Okay. Um, to eliminate, I don't think there's a way to completely eliminate it,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the level, yeah? So the thing is, it's dunya that we're in and we're human beings. Things are not going to be 100%. And what
Yeah.
happens a lot of the times with these beliefs is that once you reach a certain level, you could have a ceiling at that level where you feel like, okay, I can't move past this place. And so it's each level with you working on expanding into the next level. You could do it
Yeah.
alone, depending on the level that you're at, or you could work with another person who could help you stretch and get that accountability to get
Okay.
to those levels. So, but really working with limiting beliefs would be just getting curious, like I said, and examining what you want in your life, becoming
Mm.
aware and becoming deliberate of seeing a way, especially, as Muslims, we know that we are khalifa, like on the earth, like, vicegerents, or I don't know the word in English, but
Like,
we,
yeah, I also don't know. Like, is it custodians of the earth or
yes,
something like that?
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So we have a role. And so it's about seeing how we're making use of the time that Allah has given us, how we're making use of the gifts and talents that we have in order
Yeah.
to impact or leave something in this dunya, and even to make what is it called, to save for our akhirah. And so
Yeah.
what is coming up for you on that path? What is
Mm-hmm.
coming up for you? Are you having any limiting beliefs in these areas of living an authentic life, raising your
Mm-hmm.
children in the path of Islam, or just becoming a better person yourself.
Yeah.
It's really about finding out what is going on for you. So it's very, very personal and tailored. So depending on the goals you want to achieve, depending on the ways you want to worship Allah, you're going to
Yeah.
examine if there are any limiting beliefs for you, if there's any resistance, and how
Mm-hmm.
you can overcome those obstacles, inshallah.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So again, we've spoken about how to identify. We've spoken about whether we should be working with, trying to work hand in hand with our limiting beliefs. So the next question is, what are, I know it's quite personal, or like limiting your relationship with your limiting beliefs are personal, but are there any general practical steps that we can employ to kind of put a rein on our limiting beliefs as we live our day-to-day lives?
Yeah, sure. So the practical steps would be getting curious. I'm always going to say that.
Mm-hmm.
Getting curious, and instead of shutting off the emotions that we're feeling or the beliefs that come up. So if you're thinking about doing something and your beliefs are saying, "Oh, you can't do it. You're
Mm-hmm.
not good enough. You always say you're going to do this, but you never do it." It's
Yeah.
about getting curious and even becoming amused and asking, you know what, you could be right. So let's see what's going on there. Just
Mm.
coming from that neutral place, as opposed to getting upset, feeling guilty, shutting down completely, judging yourself, berating yourself, blaming yourself, beating yourself up. You get me? So it's
Yeah.
about just trying to detach and look at it from a different place of, hmm, you know what, you could be right. Say it even aloud if that helps you, tell your mind that
Mm-hmm.
you're right that I didn't keep my promises in the past. And why could that be? And is it possible that, I could try something little and see how I keep that promise to myself? How can I see a
Mm.
way to just keep one tiny promise to myself this week? And another thing, so that's one step of trying to see a way to work with the limiting beliefs, at least like
Yeah.
practically, you can start this today.
Yeah.
Another way would be to challenge it. So if you say, like, if the limiting belief or the belief comes up as, I can never do this thing, or I can never run a successful business, or whatever it is that is coming up for you,
Mm-hmm.
ask the question of, okay, perhaps it's true. So just agree with it for the first instance. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
agree that, you know what, maybe you're right, maybe you're right. That's one. Two would be to go further and ask that, okay, what would be possible if this were possible? Could it be that there's
Mm.
a way to do this? And not just for yourself, like in the world. So challenge it to see if there's anyone who is running a successful business. And you
Mm.
cannot deny that there are people who are doing this, whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
So the third question would be to ask that, okay, what if, or could it be possible for me? So see the words that I'm asking. Could it? So it's not
Mm.
something absolute. It's just, you just want a maybe in order
Yeah, it's
to
not
start
like an
seeing
all or nothing, so that you don't
exactly.
put yourself in that like, is it flight zone now where you just shut down. So you're just
Really
treading
about,
carefully. Mm-hmm.
thank it's about treading carefully, and it's about loosening that resistance little by little.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
by the way, like, I have a thing about positive affirmations, which if you ask
Mm-hmm.
me about it, I can go into. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, at a point in time, I felt like positive affirmations don't really work for people. It depends. For them to
Mm.
work, you need to have a certain level of belief in them. If not,
Yeah.
you're saying something and your mind is going to completely shut it out and be like, you liar. You're not
Yep.
this thing that you're saying you are.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Definitely
So,
happened to me. Yeah.
exactly. And so it's about loosening it, and not so, if you ask somebody, their limiting belief could be, I'm not a good writer, or I can never be a good writer. So if you flipped it in the direct opposite and you want to use a positive affirmation right away with it, you would say,
Yeah.
I'm an awesome
I'm a
writer,
good.
I'm an amazing writer, and I'm this and that. And you want to look in the mirror and say all these things. Your subconscious mind would never accept it
I'll
because it's
just be
so
laughing at you.
outdated. Exactly. And you feel worse about yourself.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it comes down to, okay, I'm not a very good writer, I'm not the best writer. Is there a good writer that exists in the world? Certainly there is. You've read books. So, okay, could I be a good writer? And then the question would become, how can I be a good writer? Like, what tiny or baby steps can I take to see a way to do this? Because it's not an all or nothing. And even if
Yeah.
it means tweaking the belief to becoming something of, yeah, I'm not a good writer yet, or you know what, it's something that I can learn, it's something that I can practice and become better. And you're not even saying to yourself that it's something that I can do to become an amazing writer. No,
Mm-hmm.
it's just something that I can do to make progress to become better. And that becomes easier for your mind to accept and to aid you in
Handle.
doing
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I do. I agree with you 100% because there's some times where you hear all these things or use positive affirmations and it's like
that.
your mind is just laughing at you and
Yeah,
telling you like who are you deceiving?
like
Like
you
who are
need
you
to be
talking
at a
to?
certain level to use
Yeah,
that
yeah,
affirmation.
yeah. Thanks for touching on like affirmations and sharing.
Yeah.
So let's move on to we've spoken about limiting beliefs, and there's an opposite which is empowering beliefs. But
Yes.
I'm curious to know, are there ways that we can actually use limiting beliefs to our advantage?
Well, the only way I would say to use limiting beliefs to our advantage is to not look at it as an enemy,
Okay.
to look at it as someone who is trying to communicate to us and someone
Mm,
who is trying to protect us, even though it looks like it's holding us back, there is a
yeah,
positive intent underneath it. And
yeah,
really trying to understand the positive intent, because if you think about it, our mind is wired to keep us safe. And so
yeah,
it's doing its job. So if we can accept that it's doing its job and then take it with us hand in hand to convince it, to show it ways that this person has done it and this person has done it, and perhaps they have the same level of intelligence as me. So that means
hmm,
that I could also attempt this.
do it.
I could
Mm,
attempt it.
yeah,
I could try it. I could do it. So it's about taking those limiting beliefs and not seeing them as our enemy, but
enemy.
seeing it as
Yeah.
someone that wants to preserve us, somebody that
Who
wants to
cares for
protect us
you?
from,
Mm,
exactly, somebody that wants to protect us from the hurt and disappointment that we have experienced. But you're going to tell it that, yes, that was true in the past, but we can choose different now. And we can
yeah.
do different. And come on, let's take a peek. Let's just try
Hmm.
this. Let's
Hmm.
take a peek and see how we
We
can
can
begin
make
to
it
do
work.
that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So taking it as an ally as opposed to an enemy.
An enemy. Yeah. I mean, this in the last episode, I was talking about repetition and how, I spoke about the subconscious mind as well and how it just wants to keep us safe, right? It's
Yeah.
something that has stored so much information on what it believes is true for us, right? So it just
Hmm.
wants to keep us safe and secured, and it doesn't want anything that is going to take you away from that belief system
Yes.
that you have already. So you literally need to like work hand in hand with it. Don't just try to
Yes.
fight. If not, it will
Exactly.
fight you back. Exactly. So it's like
Exactly.
you're
And it's
throwing blows
gonna
at each other.
overtake you.
Exactly, because it is more powerful than
Exactly. It
your
is.
own conscious mind. Yeah. So
That's
that's
right.
such
That's right.
powerful stuff. And I mean,
Yeah.
Allah
Alhamdulillah.
Akbar is so funny how
Wallahi.
it's so powerful, like how the mind
It
works is
is.
really,
It
really
is.
amazing.
Allahumma barik. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Hmm.
It's mind blowing.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm curious again to know, are there some certain people that are more prone to limiting beliefs, or it's just, a general occurrence for everyone? Are there some, because you see some people that it seems
Mm,
like, they just power through, there's nothing stopping them.
yeah.
Meanwhile, there's some people that they are always, having to deal with these things. So are there people that maybe they are more prone to having limiting beliefs, or it's just, a general thing?
There are people who are more prone to it,
Okay.
although I wouldn't say this is a way, like these are the kinds of people who would be more prone to it.
Okay.
Yeah. But a lot of people are prone to it mainly
Okay.
because of past experience. So the thing about past experience is when you have a negative experience many times, or a parent or a caregiver tells
Mm-hmm.
you something negative so many times, then you would begin to internalize it. And they don't do it in a negative way. For a lot of people or for a lot of families, it's not
Yeah.
deliberate that they want to bring you down, but it's more
Yeah.
of a thing of the labeling that we do for children.
Mm.
That we say they're always lazy, or they are this. Like if a child does one or two or three things, then we immediately put a label on them. And what
Mm.
happens with labels and identity is that when you call somebody an identity, then they would begin to act to confirm that identity.
So
Mhm.
let's talk about, are there any books or resources that you
Mm.
would recommend if someone is on this journey of, trying to overcome or what can they handle their limiting beliefs?
I have tried to think of any books or resources, and
Mhm.
one that I remembered was there's a life coaching book. I don't remember the name. It's by
Okay.
Sayeeda Habib. I will look for
Okay.
the name and I'll send it to you. I'll send you a picture and the name. It
Okay.
is
Please
meant
do.
to help, with these reflective questions. I did try it, but it didn't really work for me only because of the level that I was in. So for me,
Mm.
at the time that I started my journey, I
Yeah.
desperately needed to work with someone hand in hand and get direct
Okay.
feedback in order to work on myself. So once I did that, like working through the book really easy. So for some
Easy.
people, they can find that working on these journal prompts and these things straight away would help them.
Mhm.
So it's a thing of trying it out and see what works for you.
Works
Another
for
thing
you.
I would say is so this isn't really limiting beliefs per se, but it
Hmm.
is about awareness. And I don't know if you know Fatimah Maitambari.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
She, yeah, so she does have a journal about self-awareness. So
Okay.
it has some questions in terms of asking what kind of life you'd like to live. And I feel like through these questions, then we can begin to identify if a limiting belief exists and how one can go about it. Because
Mm.
it helps you to envision, okay, what you want, and then depending on the resistance that comes up for that person, then it's for them
Hmm.
to believe there and how they can work on it, inshallah. For resources, I
Inshallah.
would say Aliya Ummraiyan. I like her page. She
Hmm.
talks a lot about healing and about things that, subconscious mind, and also Lain Kasani. Generally, the honesty talk
The show
platform,
is
I would
really good.
say.
Yeah. It's really
Yes,
good. It's
yes.
really good.
Mm.
Okay, mashallah, mashallah. So talking about programs as well, I know you have a coaching program. So do you want to tell us
Yeah,
about it?
alhamdulillah. So currently, I do coach women to heal from trauma and overcome their self-sabotage, because I believe that procrastination and all the self-sabotaging that we do comes from something we've experienced in our past that is holding us back, which of course has limiting beliefs in it. So with the program, it's an 8-week program currently, and it's one-to-one coaching. And I
Okay.
do focus on 4 pillars. It is tailored to
Okay.
the individual, but I do touch on 4 pillars, which is connection with Allah, because I believe as Muslims, this is the foundation. For whatever we're
Yeah.
going to do, it needs to be for the sake of Allah. And so, how we identify as Muslims, how we
Hmm.
identify with our Lord, because a lot of us, by the way, we grew up with fear of Allah so much. We feared that
Yeah.
we were going to put in the hellfire. And so we did
Yeah.
acts of ibadah from a place of fear. And we never had a relationship with Allah in terms of
Like actual
communicating or making
love.
dua to him exactly. So I explore that within the program. I also explore what could be causing the blocks in your life. So it's not like
Okay.
therapy where you tell me all of your life events that
Hmm.
have happened. No, it's more about where your blocks, and seeing a way to address and reframe those blocks and releasing any of those negative emotions. Because
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, I do have training in neurolinguistic programming, which has
Yeah.
equipped me with the tools and techniques to take people through certain exercises to release
Okay.
those limiting beliefs and negative beliefs and all those things. There's also a huge part of what I touch on, which is self-awareness, knowing who you are, what you want, what your values are, and just to live a more aligned and, authentic life,
Mm.
inshallah. So
Inshallah.
that is the program for
Yeah.
anyone
Mashallah.
interested. Yeah, I am
Mashallah.
on Instagram if they did want to send me a message anytime, like
Yeah,
with questions
where
on
can
that.
they reach you on Instagram? That is cool. Dot Aisha
At
Mai, right?
yeah, Aisha Mai. Yes,
Yeah,
co dot
I'll add it to,
show
the
notes.
show notes anyways, yeah. But yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
so proud of what you're doing, sis. Just in case I haven't told
Alhamdulillah.
you,
Thank you
when
so
I'm on
much.
Instagram
That
and I
warms my
see,
heart.
yeah, once I see your post, I try as much as possible to drop a comment, just to
Oh,
encourage us. I know how it can
appreciate
be,
it.
trying to do so. Barakallah fikum. I'm so proud of you, and may Allah
Amen.
guide
Jazakillah
you
khairan. Amen.
and put barakah in everything that you're doing. Right, so we're
Amen.
getting to the end, and I
Thank
have
you.
just two last questions for you.
Sure.
So, what is one piece of advice that you would give anyone that
Mhm.
recognizes that they have a limited belief?
The piece of advice for them would be to consider that there's another perspective that perhaps they haven't explored yet. Whatever
And they should.
story is being told to you, just
Mm-hmm,
consider that perhaps there's another perspective I'm not aware of yet. There's another story that completes this picture that I'm not seeing yet. So, with
yeah,
that, what it does for your mind is that it begins to prompt your mind to look for the different alternative. And like I like to say sometimes, by the way, it brings me to the thing of a silver lining. So you can
mm,
look at your situation and all the bad or all the wrong that is happening. Because for a lot of people that have limiting beliefs, they have
yeah,
also some people do have a bit of victim mentality in terms of things are happening to them. And it is true that they
mm,
were victims at a point in their
yeah,
life, but I want to invite you to consider that you have reached this age that you have reached, and
mm,
bi'idhnillah, you now have choice of how to go about things. The things that
yeah.
have happened in the past. So how can we begin to seek for the silver linings? Whatever your
So, how
limiting
can you
belief is
make it
telling
work for
you,
you? Mm-hmm,
exactly, how can you make it work for you? What good is there in this?
yeah,
How can I use this limiting belief to my advantage? How can I get
yeah,
curious? How can I explore it to see a way for us to work together? So get
mm,
curious. It can be scary, but when you come from a
yeah.
place of curiosity and acceptance,
Mm.
it relieves the resistance, it lessens it a great deal.
Yeah, it's just like a child, children are so
Honestly.
full of curiosity. So even
Yes.
when there's something that looks very daunting, it's just like play
Hmm.
to them. So they're just trying to check it out and all that. So I think that should be the approach that we have
Yes.
towards
Yeah.
the
And
Jazakumullah
without
khairan. That was
judgment.
so good. Yeah, that was so good
Amen.
and so profound. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. So this podcast is about, encouraging women to have a joyful life, and that includes, living intentionally, you know,
Yeah.
having a more fulfilled life. And so I would like to ask that what does living an intentional life mean to you? What does living a joyful, radiant life mean to you?
Hmm. I love this question, and it's making me think and it's making me smile at the same time.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
So like living an intentional life, a radiant, a joyful life, for me, honestly, would be living according like to being a Muslim, and that is living life knowing that life is a gift that Allah has given me. So
Mm,
what am I using? How am I serving His people with the gifts that
yeah,
He has given me? How am I appreciating
mhm,
all the resources He has made available to me? What am I
mm,
using them to do? What am I using my time to do? What am I using my words to do? What am I using my talents to do? Because a lot of the time we shy away from serving people or sharing our gifts and our talents because we feel like
mhm.
I'm being arrogant. But when you give it
Yeah,
back to Allah and see it that is a gift from Allah, and it's not just you who has given yourself. It's not your smartness, or it's not your whatever strategies that you're doing. It's from Allah. It's
Allah.
easier
Yeah.
to give back and to do it. And also, I feel like living a life that is intentional is about living in alignment with your values, what is
Mm.
important to you, at the same time as having Islam as the guiding light. Because
Yeah.
no matter how much we want to do things, I feel like this deen gives us, the limits or the boundaries, or like a protection
Yeah.
within how to conduct ourselves ethically, and the things we can partake, and loving for our brothers and sisters what we love for ourselves. And
Yeah.
a part of that would be living life such that I'm honoring my values, at the same time I'm letting people live the life that honors their values. Because a lot
Yeah.
of the time, when you haven't started healing, especially, and you're having a lot of conflict in relationships, there's a lot of control,
Yeah.
where you feel like people are not doing it the proper or the right or the correct way
You're
that you would have done
projecting.
it.
You're projecting your
Exactly.
own.
That's
Exactly.
right. Exactly. You are projecting. And so it's really about giving space and grace to people to
Yeah.
also heal and explore what's going on for them. Alhamdulillah.
This conversation has been so good, so good.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Sister Aisha. Like, I'm
And
so happy that we had this conversation, and I know that,
me too.
anyone listening to this would actually benefit in one way or the other. So, Jazakumullah
Inshallah.
khairan. Thank you
I
for
mean, thank you
joining.
so much
And
for
I
having
wish you
me.
all the
Thank you
very
so
best.
much
Yep,
for
yep,
making
yep.
that first event, because I was elated to like go meet fellow women. I was like, yes, please, yes, please, yes, please. And I'm so grateful to
Oh,
Allah that our paths crossed and I've met you, and you're someone I know. I'm so
mashallah.
grateful, Wallahi, and Allahumma barik with what you're doing with the
Ameen,
podcast.
ameen, wa
May Allah
rahmah.
accept it. May Allah elevate it. May Allah put barakah in it
Ameen,
for you, and just take it even more and higher for you, Ya Rab. May it be a form of sadaqah
ameen.
jariyah. Thank you so
Ami,
much
Ami,
for
Ami,
inviting
Ami.
me.
Thank you so
I
much.
truly appreciate it.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a great, great day. And
Yes, you
yeah, I
too.
can't
And
wait to
I wish
see
our
more of what
listeners
you
the
do.
same.
And
Bismillah,
thank you
thank
for
you.
joining. Thank you for listening. All right, so we're going to draw the curtains here. Assalamu alaikum, sis. Love you. Peace and billah. Thank you so much.
Wa alaikum assalam.
There you have it, people. This conversation has been so, so good. As you go into 2022 and you're trying to execute on the goals you have set for yourself, remember that your subconscious mind can stir up limiting beliefs. My charge to you is not to go into fight or flight mode. I want you to take a pause, remind yourself that your mind is just like an ally that is trying to keep you safe. But at some point, to really get to what you want, you need to break out of your comfort zone and explore new horizons. Your job then is to get your mind to buy into this new mission. A good way to placate your mind is to get curious, like Sister Aisha said. Think about where those thoughts came from. Look for evidences around you that show you there is an alternative to that thought process, that negative thought that you're having. Repetitively reinforce these new empowering beliefs, and if necessary, work with a coach. I'm sincerely praying for all the best for you in 2022 and beyond. Lastly, please share your learnings with me in the comment section. Rate the podcast, share, like, and subscribe. It does mean a lot to me. Thank you. Till next time, stay joyous.